Alright guys, so we are back with another React.js tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about the useRef hook. Okay, so this is a very useful hook. One of the most primary use cases you'd ever want to use this useRef hook is to be able to actually access the actual DOM element. So ideally, let's say for example, if you want to get like some kind of input field and you want to focus on it when the user immediately loads the page, that's one use case of why you'd want to use the useRef. But generally, it's great if you want to, like I said, access the DOM like manually, so that you can actually get the actual element itself. Okay, so we'll take a look at an example. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and call the useRef hook. And I'm going to go ahead and just simply do a const input element is equal to useRef. And initially, we're going to set this to a null value. And then what we're going to do after is, let me just make sure the app is running. Okay. So, and then what we're going to do after we have our input element is we're going to go ahead and set the ref attribute. We're going to set it to input element. That's our ref right there. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and we should make sure that there are no issues going on. Okay, good. Now, if I console log the input element, we should see that it's an object that has this current property. And you can see that it's currently null. The reason why you saw that there was an input there just now is because whenever React re-renders, it usually keeps the state. But we had to do a full refresh to actually see what's going on. So you can see that it's currently null. Okay, but actually, if I were to go into the useEffect hook, and if I were to console log this, you'd see that it's actually not null, like after the render. Okay, so now we can actually do pretty cool things inside this useEffect hook. We can do a lot of things actually. So if I wanted to actually make some kind of form, better experience for the user. So one good example would be when the page loads, and let's say if you have an input box, let the input get focused on immediately. Now usually this isn't always a good case, but sometimes this can help the user a lot. It makes it easy for them to just start filling out fields. So what we can do is we can go ahead and just simply say input element dot current, and we can actually call the .focus function. So .current will actually give you the actual element itself. Okay, so if you actually look at the documentation, the useRef returns a mutable ref object whose current property is initialized to the past argument, so the initial value. So our initial value was null, but then we actually passed in this input element ref to this input field. Okay, so it's actually not null anymore. Okay, and so yeah, like I said, this is a good way to actually reference an element like an input element, and we can do things like focus on it. So if you actually look at this, if I refresh the page, you see how it just instantly focuses on this element. It's pretty cool, right? And I'm sure that you can actually do a lot more things with this element node. I'm pretty sure we could probably call any method or property, I think. Now, it does mention in the documentation that whenever you change something on the ref, it will not modify. It will not notify you. Sorry, not modify, notify. Okay, so if you mutate the current property, it also will not cause a re-render. Yeah, like I said, that's just something that is mentioned on the React documentation. So that's just something that I figured I would mention to you guys. So let me actually see if I can find some additional. Let's see. There's a lot of functions that we could probably call. We could probably, or not just functions, but we can also probably modify the inner text, I think. So I'm trying to see if I can find something to make it more, just to see what else we can do. So it seems like we have focus. Okay, we have the focus function. You can also do clicks too. So let's actually try one more thing. Let's try a const button element. Let's give it a useRef, or let's call it the useRef hook. And let's create another button, and let's see if we can make it click the button immediately when the DOM loads. Let's actually try this out. So let's see. We have the focus, and if I were to console log button element, you should see that the current is a button. Okay, it's not null. Okay, if I didn't actually pass in the ref, if I didn't actually pass in the button element to the button, to the ref, it would actually stay as null. Okay, so let me actually give this a name. Okay, now let's see if I can do this button element dot current, and let's call the click function, and let's see if this actually works. So it should, I think it should actually work just fine. Shouldn't have any issue with that. I'm also exploring this myself too. Button was clicked. Okay, and let's try that out and let's see what happens. So you can see that it says button was clicked, and we can literally do other things too. Let's say use ref button. So when the page loads, you can see that inside this use effect, the callback function is being invoked. It's focusing on the element, as you can see right over there. It's console logging a button element, and it's clicking the button. When the button is clicked, it's going to invoke this onClick function, and you can see it's literally doing exactly what it does. So that's pretty cool. So I'm pretty sure you can do a lot of things with useRef, aside from just referencing child elements and calling their methods. There's a lot of things that you could do. I'm sure that if you actually Google some ideas on what you could use with useRef, that would come in handy. But off the top of my head, this is what I would use if I wanted to actually, focus on an input. Now, like I said, you actually get the actual, you actually get the actual element itself, right? So if you need to reference things like, you can actually use it to. Let me actually do this real quick. Let me log current. Okay. And let me see, you can actually get the actual, let's say if there was a class here, you can actually get, I think, those attributes as well. So let's actually give this button a class name. So let's just say hello, or actually, why am I doing hello? Let's just do button. And if I were to reference then the logs, you can see that the class is there. Okay, but if I were to reference class name, let's see what happens here. It says button. So you can do this you can use refs to, get button. You can get the class names. You can get the ID name, unique button, right? You can use it to do a lot of things. So it's not just only useful for, performing focuses on on input fields. You can get it to click, any element too. Like if you have a div that needs to be clicked on, you can use a ref for that. Another thing that comes to mind is that I've actually used useRef before to create a modal, as well as using it to detect whether or not I was clicking outside of a certain element. So it's pretty useful. I figured I would just show this to you guys because I think it's pretty cool, and hopefully you guys can take this and build something cool with it. So I will see you guys in my next tutorial. Peace out.